Welcome for another episode of Positive Traction with Coach Henry. Thank you for your support. Thanks for being a part of it. Thank you for all the sponsors that are part of this journey. That being said, without further ado, his nickname, you know me and my nicknames, is Rico Suave, otherwise known as
Juan Martinez.
There he is. So Juan, who are you? Tell us a little bit about you.
I'll give you a little bit of background. Actually, thanks for having me here. You know, it's gonna be honest, first time I'm actually sharing my story in this type of setting. So I grew up originally in Venezuela. I was born and raised in Caracas, Venezuela, and then at the age of 18, I decided to venture out, play baseball, and I wanted to play in the States, and met a random guy. It's a pretty crazy story, but met a guy in Venezuela that used to live in Austin, and he told me, hey, you need to be playing ball in the States, and told my parents, hey, I'm moving to Austin. They were like, what are you doing? You're 18, you don't even know the language. So I just want to play baseball. So 2 weeks later, I got on a plane, came here, and I've been in Austin since then for like 32 years.
Wow.
And I'm right now father of two amazing daughters.
That's awesome.
They're about 13 and about to be 11.
Wow.
And and I've been in Austin since then. It's been an amazing city for me, and as far as personal and business, it's been great.
Well, thank you for wanting to be on the show, and thank you for sharing your story here. And part of it, Juan, that I really enjoy with this platform is for us to share our story, primarily to guests in this case, but also along that story, there's something that's going to relate to people. And I like application. I think it's so important in our culture today to not just talk about what's wrong in the world and blah, 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 but to be a part of the solution, right? And how we do that is by being our best version. By you being the best man you can be, you're going to help two beautiful daughters. I've had the pleasure of meeting them. They're both beautiful young ladies. But for them to have, and I am huge on the male role, especially for young ladies, because how you treat them, how they see you treat others is going to affect them dramatically. So thank you for that. But we're going to unpack a lot of things here about entrepreneurship, about coming over to this country at 18 years old, and all that good stuff. So let's dive right in, because I think the guests are used to me kind of breaking it down. So tell us how good your English was or wasn't. You came to this country, I imagine at that point thinking you're going to be a professional baseball player, right? Is that kind of how it went down?
Correct. That was everyone's dream, right?
Everyone's dream. So you're in Venezuela, you grew up, the American dream.
Right.
You were obviously good enough to be talked about, and you come over here, English so-so? Or?
Non-existent.
Non-existent. No tenías inglés.
Absolutamente nada.
So you came with no English. Your parents like, what are you doing to play the American dream? So kind of walk us through when you got here, how that kind of looked to you, and then we'll bring everybody up.
Yeah, that was kind of, I always wanted to venture out to the U.S. My dad went to school here. My dad went to school to the University of Wisconsin, and growing up in my room, I had a bunch of books in the library, and all of them were in English. So as a young kid, I used to go and try to read them, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was always been fascinated to the actual language, but never knew how to speak it. And if I was reading it, it was pretty, it wasn't great. So for me, it was just a natural, love for this country. Football growing up, I used to watch American football and NBA and so on. So for some reason, from a very young age, I wanted to move to the States. And when I had the opportunity, I didn't know what was going to entail or what it's going to look like. And I just took the chance. I think it's part of, being and we'll get to that point, but entrepreneurship, right? Sometimes you just go with your guts.
Yeah.
And then you start figuring things out, as you're making progress.
Well, not only did you come over here at 18, but you said, you stayed here the rest of the
Correct.
time.
Yeah.
So you obviously, which we'll get into, had to go through a lot of ups, a lot of downs, right? And I think what's fascinating about that, some of the guests that I've had all came into this country. Not all, but some of the guys, one at 13, one at 16, you at 18. And they went off to do things, but I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of those struggles that you dealt with, not knowing the language, not knowing the city, not knowing the country, have helped you become who you are today, right?
100%. I think some of those early challenges is what made me be who I am today. It has helped me understand that this is what life is about and how you tackle these different challenges, and it's what's going to determine or build your character,
Yeah.
in the long run.
Yeah.
For me, it comes to, I never saw myself as a victim. I never doubted what was happening to me or the challenges that I was facing. It was for me more of a, if this is happening for me, it's for a reason. So how can I actually overcome it?
Yeah.
So that's what really, I think, has been the fuel, since a very young age, since I moved to Austin, of going into a classroom and not knowing what was going on. I was sitting in the very back, trying to hide from my teachers, professors, because I didn't want to hear my name being asked or ask any questions because I didn't know how to communicate.
So by default, Juan, real quick, I just want to give people a picture. So you're sitting in the back of the classroom, not like if you're in Venezuela, you probably would have been in the front of the classroom.
100%.
Right, I see 100%. But here you are again, and I want to paint this picture to our guests because you're in the back, not because of self-confidence, although you had the lack of because of the language barrier.
Correct.
So you're in the back, please don't pick me, please don't pick me, trying to also understand. It wasn't, and I try to bring people there because I keep thinking, my son-in-law's from Germany. And if I were to go to Germany, I don't know any German. I mean, I'm talking zero, other than a couple times they talk about squirrel or something. They're like yelling. But I mean, I'm thinking, okay, I'm confident here. But I'm like, I show up to Germany, right? And I'm thinking, man. So continue. I just want to give people a picture. Hard.
It was a journey, a really hard one. I was put on probation my first year in college, and I knew it wasn't because I wasn't smart. It was a language barrier.
Yeah.
And I was a student athlete. I played baseball through college, and that's what brought me here. I had almost a full ride. I got 90%. My first year.
That's awesome.
And I almost lost my scholarship just because of my grades.
Yeah.
So I was able to, school through some of the resources. I had tutors. I used to go to school every day, every morning, 12 hours. You have to be a full-time student. And then we have baseball practice from 1 to 5 every day. And then after that, I had tutors, for the first 2.5 years in college.
Wow.
So I had no outside life other than that. And then sometimes I was able to, go work part-time just to help my parents pay for everything.
Right.
But it was a grind. It wasn't until my, I will say, junior year that I started feeling a little more comfortable.
Yeah, maybe like from the back of the room to the middle and
right.
Kind of like feeling a little bit more like you understood things.
100%. So my grades were kind of getting better. I barely made it through college. My GPA is something that I was proud of, right? And later on in life, when I decided to get my MBA, it was more of I wanted to prove myself that I was smart enough to do well. So I went back to school just to make sure that, hey, I can get a 3.8 like everybody else. The language barrier is not there anymore.
Yeah.
So that's something that I did, but it was a pretty, for me, it was really, really difficult. Yeah. Because I left my culture.
Yeah. It's a big thing. It's a real thing. And I think people that grew up in America, even though I did, but I'm around culture all the time. And I don't think people really sometimes realize that in the American culture that you almost definitely take it for granted, right? And you've had to work that much harder. You went back to get the MBA, which is kudos to you. That's not, number one, that's not easy. Still, it's not your first go-to. It's still a second language. And it's different when you think, I do speak Spanish, but I don't think in Spanish. So it's different because it is, you're speaking it as natural in English for me. The slang, the nicknames, but Spanish is different. Something that makes sense in my head is like, what do you say?
Yeah.
So
100%.
That's why my family makes fun of me, says I don't speak Spanish, but they're just haters. It's okay. But okay, so now you gave us a little bit of that, which explains a lot of the I can do it. So college, baseball got you here. That wasn't the path of life. So let's bring it to the now, and then because I like to go back and forth. So now at this season of your life, You had some challenges for yourself. What is something over the last couple of years that you felt was such a drastic movement that at the time seemed devastating, and you knew you're not a victim? You spoke about that. But because you've been through so much in your life, you were able to get through it faster than most. And I will share with people, it's not that you don't go through it, you or me or anyone, is that we just choose not to stay there and be a victim. So what is something you're willing to share with some of the folks listening that they could take away from a devastating blow to you?
Yeah, 100%. I've done a lot of different things over the past, I would say, 20 years. Right out of college, I started my career in telecommunications. Was with MCI. I don't know if you remember
I remember
MCI, but
MCI,
was, that's where my first actual job here in the US was. And then jumped to a couple other companies, and then I went to work for a early stage company in telecommunications when DSL was high, like the latest and greatest, right? It was my first experience in a startup company, and I loved it. It was crazy. It was really fast paced. I was able to be like employee number 35, and we grew to over 200 in less than a year, right? So it was my first sales management role, trying to build the inside sales team. And outside, I was reporting to the CEO of the company at the time, Jeff, and I are still friends today. I'm talking about this was early 2000, 2001, and Jeff and I, over the years, we helped each other with a lot of different ventures, But it's been, it was fascinating, and that's what really got me into, hey, I want to start my own business. And over the years, I've done a lot of different things. I used to have a small graphic design firm, so we did website design and development, and then we saw an opportunity to create a magazine, a business publication. So, hey, our clients need a way to get their name out. We already have clients. Why don't we put a really beautiful magazine out? And that's when Inside Business came about. So got into the publishing for about 4 years, something like that. Then jump into other ventures.
Yeah.
And mainly technology, right? My last entrepreneurial career or business was a swimming device that I invented. It was fascinating. First time I ever manufactured a product, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. No supply chain experience, no experience manufacturing a product in China. 117 different components, and I have no clue what I was doing. I just had the right team around me, right? I knew I had the right engineers. I knew I had the right, industrial design team and developers, and it was a combination of skills that I was able to assemble and put together. But it was me just thinking that I can do it all, and it was a very humble experience learning all this, and it was right before COVID hit. China. So, once COVID hit China, everything came to an end or stop.
Yeah.
And then we had to wait almost 1.5 to 2 years to start the manufacturing, start kind of building the actual product. That was my latest venture, but, today I'm actually the director of operations for a fitness facility. It's an opportunity that came out of nowhere. Someone that I shouldn't say nowhere. I think everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
I think you unconsciously you always manifesting what you want to do. What there's always you trigger something that eventually will come. Be a reality. So I'm actually running a fitness facility called Heat Athletic. It's an amazing 25,000 square foot facility.
It is amazing. I had the pleasure of working out there.
Yep.
Great place.
It is.
It really is a beautiful setup. The energy is great. And you said something about like-minded people. And I love training alone many times because you need that alone time. But when I was there, it reminds me why I also love that environment. Because everybody around you, no matter some are overweight, some are in impeccable shape, no matter where you are on your journey, they're all moving.
Yep.
They're all doing.
Yeah.
And it does help bring that out.
The
right?
energy is crazy.
And
yes.
I do believe, look, the show's called Positive Attraction. I do believe in that. Look, everything leads to something else. When you go to the grocery store, I always use this analogy, you usually, let's say it's 1 or 2 items you need, but usually along the way you get a couple more things, but it all makes sense.
Yeah.
I believe that's life. You might have a certain goal, and that's why I like my 3 Ps: plan, pray, and proceed. You have a plan, and usually the plan doesn't always work, but something usually better comes along that wouldn't have happened if it was always your plan. But sometimes our own plans suck. We don't know it at the time, but things lead to better. So to take away from that, so at that point, that was a turning point for you in the sense it was a product. It was your baby, if you will, at the time, never done it before, off to a good start, have the right people around you, COVID hit, so you had to kind of adapt. So that was a unfortunate domino effect of some things that probably were hard for you. So what do you attribute to getting through it, and what do you attribute the success that is coming or came from that?
Resilience, right? It's just
That's a good word.
it's trusting and believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Once you get into a project or a mindset, it's just believing that it's how you're doing this for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's higher than you.
Yeah.
Why were you put in this position? Why were you given the opportunity to have so many talented people around you build this product that, for me, it's still, I'm in the process of trying to sell that company. Okay. But it was like something that came from a tiny little idea, and just to kind of see that my product is being used in 14 different countries, right? I got people in Europe, South America, Central America, South Africa, New Zealand. It's kind of like very fulfilling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think for a lot of people, probably could have been really easy to stop once COVID hit and sit on it for 2 years. For me, it was, all right, COVID is over. Now I need to pick up where I left off.
Yeah.
Because my mind was, I need to make this happen. I need to, I put too much time and energy, and I believe in the actual product. And the feedback I was getting from customers, it was incredible.
Well, I love what you said, that word, because we don't use that word enough, and that's resilience. But I believe that is one of the key things in being a key player in this game of life that we do, is that resilience. But to me, that means persistence, that means patience, right? But I feel like you said you had a product that you believe in, so you came from passion. From there, you put it into a process. So that all led, so you're trying to juggle that because you believe in it, but it's kind of like I always use like the acting, right? You believe that you're meant to be, but every once in a while you have a friend or family goes, hey, somebody's got to get a job though, right? And then you feel compelled, like, well, if I get a job, then I'm giving up on my dream. But no, sometimes you just have to take a sidestep. Doesn't mean your dream cannot come fulfilled, just means it's not the right time or place. So I believe that's what I'm hearing from you is like, look, my dream is still very much alive. And I had to go make a couple other things happen, but I believe in this, and it is fulfilling 14 different countries here. So can you tell us for a second what this product is? Because people are going to be asking, what exactly is this product?
Absolutely. It was what's ironic is that it was a friend of a friend that who's a swim coach had this idea, and he approached me about. My friend made an introduction, and he didn't know how to bring it to market, and we initially started working together, and then after a year we went different routes, because my vision when I dive into anything is just I want to go big. I don't want to do things half-assed or halfway. If I cannot do it right, it doesn't make any sense for me. But the product, what it does is an LED light. It's a hardware that actually tells swimmers they can visualize how fast or slow they're moving when they're training. So in swimming, when let's say you're doing 100 meters repeats, okay, the only way for a swimmer to know in real time how fast they're going is by looking at the wall clock, right?
But underwater or as they swim,
trying to take a peek and see, hey, I'm going too slow or too fast, and then they try to adapt, or when they actually stop, and then they see, oh, I swam 58 seconds and I needed to go 53. Or I needed to go 53 and I went 58.
Right.
So in swimming, a second or two is fast. It's a long time.
Absolutely.
So when you're not training efficiently, it's like running. If you're always running fast, you're gonna get burned out. You're not gonna be able to participate or raise at peak performance. So swimming is the same way. It works on intervals. So if you're on pace, you're training efficiently. It's gonna be a, you know.
Well, recently my son and my son-in-law are doing triathlons, and I came to realize that you've done them in the past. But one thing I keep hearing them talk about is zones, different zones, right? Because some of the top athletes, you gotta, I feel good. No, you gotta stay in this zone, and because if not, it's counterproductive, right? So continue with your product, but I get it now more.
But
not by me doing those. That's different. I do different drinks.
No, but that's what he does. It's a beautiful device that sits outside of the water, but it has an LED strip that goes from one end to the other. So you program your entire workout into this unit, and let's say I want to swim 100 meters 55 seconds. So the LED is moving at the bottom of the pool at 55 seconds. So if you're ahead of the light, you're going too fast. If you're behind it, you're going too slow. So you can actually adapt in real time.
And I know you had some, you shared with me prior, you've had some really big interests. So I think now the couple things you've done in your life, like this new gig you have, which is awesome, and the connections, I really know in my heart, I feel for you that it's going to go to the next level for you. It's when you least expect it, the great things happen, but it's not by sitting around, it's by being proactive.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
This opportunity came, through the process of trying to sell my company, who's going to be the buyer, and, I have a few investors involved in this venture. So it's kind of, it's a little bit of my money and other people's money. So it takes a complete different urgency, right? So I went through some really tough times. I mean, it was kind of like, what am I going to do next if I cannot sell this business? I have two beautiful daughters that I gotta provide, to. So what is it? I was looking for jobs. I started to, maybe I need to go back to corporate America. I haven't done that in 20 plus years. So for me, it was more kind of leaving my ego aside. It's like, I don't need to be the CEO or owner of a company that I started myself. It's just kind of let me go and see what other opportunities I have.
And I want to stop you there, Juan, because again, how old are you?
52.
52. And everybody, you're watching the YouTube, you'll see Rico Suave. He's a good looking man. I love this guy. I'll call back how we met, but people got to know how we met. But
yes, they do.
But I love what you're sharing, because at 52, so in the last couple of years, you've had to regroup. A little bit of ego, but at the point, it's like, well, is it ego or is it value? You had to go through that. I get it. And which is which, because one of them is good, like I want to keep my value, but at the end of the day, but I also got to be humbled, right? So you found your way, which we'll share in a second. And I said it because, again, it's never too late. And I share with you my personal thing. I did it in my 40s. I did it in my 30s. It took me a couple more times than most, and always being aware, but that I would never trade it for the world. That humbleness kept me hungry, but it kept me humble. So I relate very much to that. And when you, in friendship, you shared a couple of things with me, I very much related to that. So with that being said, you're sitting here trying to make a decision. You got to do it for your daughters. You also have to, you also, I believe, being the kind of person you are, tied in a lot of your hard work to who you are as a person. So you have all that, you're in a pickle. So as the pickle started coming and making that pickle a really good thing, tell us a little bit more about that.
It was life changing. It's funny. I went to church last week, and I heard this gentleman talk. I forgot his name, but it was a pretty powerful message. He was just talking about how when you go through these hard times or through the valley, the shadow of death.
Yeah.
He was referring to it as, this is an opportunity, and most people call it, it can be God if you're Christian, or the universe, or quantum physics, whatever it is. But he's saying that we go through these stages or cycles in life, and that energy or universe or God is just trying to redefine who you are. It's like, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. This is what I'm actually putting you through, so you understand why you need to change path, or
100%.
why you have to go in different direction, right? And I think that's what I was going through when I was struggling with selling my company and trying to decide what was next for me.
Well, it was a pickle, right? Because to me, again, I really very much, at what point are you giving up? Because you have those thoughts. Am I giving up? Am I being stubborn and not going to provide for my family? Which is the road, right? But I love what the pastor said, the message, and to me, my faith is everything. And I just did a quote that I shared literally not too long ago, and it said, "Not all the storms that God sends are meant to hurt you. Some are meant to clear a path." See, so already that those paths we wouldn't have gotten to if we didn't go through those struggles. No, and they're painful.
They are painful.
And that's why I think, but your resilience at 18 years old, right? Your daughters won't have to go through that. They're not coming into a new country at 18 years old, right? So, but there's a lot of what they can hopefully hear this show. They could see this show. They could hear a bit more about their dad. That, I saw a thing, I'm going to find it for you. It was a beautiful thing. There was a teacher in school who played a video of parents' struggles of hard work for this next generation, and the kids were all crying because they don't see. See, your daughters might hear a little bit of the story, or you might even say much about it, but if they knew that resilience, and I believe that's so important today. And this is why I want this show, Juan, because it's easy to sit in this end and go, "Oh, well, this is just natural." You're just, "Oh, that's easy for you, Juan." No, it's not.
No, it hasn't been easy at all. And actually, when people are, I look at my background and all the things that I have accomplished, right, as a business owner or an entrepreneur, or working for corporate America. And when you start applying for all these different roles, all these different opportunities, some people say, "Hey, you're just too qualified, I can hire you," or they look at you, or you are from a different planet, right? Because the skill sets that you learn, that you build, because you have a title that says CEO, everybody question, why you want to come back, right? Why do you want to, come to corporate America and get a job, and then 6 months later, you're going to start something else, Some people don't realize that, hey, that can be the case for some, but sometimes we have to regroup and do what's best for us and our families. And if that's 100%. Taking a job, I think it's taken for granted,
I'm with you. Look, Juan, I'll share, like, for me, I remember in the gyms that I had to go get a corporate job. At the time, it was one of the top sport clubs in California. And it felt so good to just get a check for a minute. Because I was the one always giving checks. Paydays were horrible for me. Horrible. Because everyone's depending on me. And then, hey, can you hold your check? Can you do it? It was just horrible. And I remember when I first got a paycheck and just show up to work, I was like, "Oh, thank you, God," right? Like, it just felt good to just get a paycheck. But after a couple of years, I regrouped. I reset my standards, my values. I refocused. I refreshed. And then I rose. And here we are. So I believe the same for you, which I love you sharing that, because that's why people go every year, "Oh, you don't really have an ego." I go, "Well, maybe I did many times." And I don't want to say ego. I wouldn't say I had a certain pride. But I also feel that kept me moving. I had pride in my word, but I also didn't get opportunities because sometimes I got stuck there. So I love that you brought that up. I love that you shared that.
Yeah, dude, it was pretty it was eye opening, and frustrating. But it was one of those things that everything happens for a reason. I think as you always I have a lot of friends that say, "Hey, you're very lucky." I'm just like, I don't think I'm lucky. I think I'm aware of what's happening around me. And when I see opportunities, I take action, right? Or I don't mind sending an email. It's how this opportunity came to me, was me knowing that the person that was running this gym was leaving. And it just happened that I knew it's a family-owned business, and I just knew the family, and I sent an email out. And I say, "Hey, I've always been interested in running a facility like this. I've been in sports all my life. I played baseball through college, did triathlons for about 8-9 years, had a previous business software, a SaaS company that was involved in the running, triathlon, and all the good stuff. My last venture was a swimming device. So athletics has always been part of my life.
Yeah.
And so I sent an email out, and he turned me down. He say, hey, but not for the right reasons, right? He say, hey, I already have someone that I think might be the right person for the job. We're going through this process, stay in touch. I'm doing I have bigger goals for this facility, maybe a second location, who knows down the road, but let's keep talking.
Yeah.
And I see him at the gym all the time. 4 or 5 weeks went by, and I thought this opportunity was completely gone.
Yeah.
And he texts me in the morning at 7:30 on a Monday, and he say, hey, let's go have coffee. I said, sure. And to be honest with you, I thought the week before he sent that text, I had emailed him about, hey, I'm starting this magazine, and since your GM is gone, I think you're the person to make that decision, but I have this magazine that you should be advertising with, because it's covering all the zip codes that your gym is around. And I honestly thought that call or that meeting
Was
to talk about advertising.
Yeah.
And I was completely wrong. So we met for coffee. We spoke for about 3 hours. I've been a member of this gym since they opened. So it's not like I was new. I've just been a member. So I know everybody, a lot of the people that work out there. So, we met for coffee, and it was the same day that we had some amazing conversations about the state of the business, what I saw as a member that this place needed. He asked me he knows a little bit of my business background, and he said, okay, might be an opportunity here. Job offer was sent to me the same day. I signed the offer next day. I had a week that I was going to start, and then I actually started 2 days later. So it was one of those things that I've run businesses before. I understand financials. I understand numbers. I'm very detailed when it comes to stuff like that, but I never run a facility like this, and there was no transition whatsoever.
Yeah,
it was kind of like, here we go.
Yeah.
Right? So from day one, it's been like, wow.
Yeah.
We're going 1,000 miles per hour. Got 21 different trainers, personal trainers, 120 classes on the schedule.
Yeah.
About 15 staff, right? Front desk and operations and sales and all kinds of stuff. So just learning everything about the gym, right? When you have boxing, yoga, cycling, group classes. We don't do CrossFit. We don't want to be known for that, but we offer strength and conditioning classes. We have pure strength classes and things like that. We have something for everybody, to be honest with you. So it's been 5-6 weeks at it. And you know how hard it is, right? When someone is taking over a business and you have different personalities, 4 years this place has been going around. Sometimes some of the people, didn't feel they wanted to be part of a team. So it's been a lot of changes.
Well, when you come in with your experience and your demeanor, which is a good demeanor, people are always, they like the way that things are, right? Even if it's changed for the better. Not everyone likes change, and you're bringing good change. And I love that because, see, to me, what I take from everything you shared is you kept stepping, right? You got to check yourself. You got to remind yourself of your why. So on that, I want to always ask the guest this thing. What is one of the best qualities that you have today that helps you went into a business, and 2 days later, instead of a week later, what is the moment or something that happened in your past that helped you now go, this is why? Because I know for me, before you answer that, I'm going through some things in our ventures. I go, well, if I didn't go through what I went through in this season of my life, I wouldn't be able to handle these things as well. Is that something? There's something that rings a bell to you that really helps define who you are today?
That's a great question. I will say that I hit some really, really lows. But the last lows, it was scary. It was really scary, and you go through some questioning sometimes. But I think what got me here is also having the right amount of people, the right people around me. You always have, I know a lot of people in Austin, 31, 32 years, well connected, amazing network, but it's probably a handful of people that know my entire story. you know, and it's been the same people that when I'm going through hard times that I can call, pick up the phone and
Yeah.
go listen.
Yeah.
They've gone through similar situations. They understand where I'm going from, and they can give me advice from a complete different perspective or point of view. I think having that is what really has been the reason I'm here today.
Yeah.
Having that core 2-3 friends that, you know, they've been
Well,
advising you for years.
You said it, 31, 32 years here, but it's less than a handful of people for the most part that truly you felt that are going to here live life with you. And I think that's the thing is now that you're starting to come back into a good place, you'll never forget because you said it was scary, very scary. You've been there before, but maybe it's because you're older. Maybe you have 2 little girls that now are becoming young ladies. There's many reasons.
100%.
So I think though, that's what I feel now that you're about to go conquer a whole new level. I see your magazine doing great, your swim product doing great, your gym, and this guy wants to expand. I think a lot of great things. So before I get to what's next, I always give the guest an opportunity to ask me a question because you came on here not knowing what we're going to talk about, but so far I've loved hearing your story. I want your daughters to hear the story because this is their version of saying, look, my dad's gone through a lot and he's taken sacrifices for us and still does. So what comes to mind that you are welcome to ask me anything and let's shed some light before I have a final 2 questions for you.
You know, it's funny, man, how all the people that I know in my life or the people that I'm close to today is we randomly met, you know, in different places.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And here we are today. So I'm curious, you know, I always love your energy. That's I guess I'm a people person, and I think you are as well. And I'm always attracted to that. You know, when I connect with people, it's because personalities and we are what you see.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
nothing else, right? There's nothing to hide. This is what you get.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
So why this? I love the fact that you're doing this, but what is the main reason that you're putting all this content, you know, out there?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Because I feel that we all go through a season when we don't feel we're worthy or enough. We live in, especially today in a culture in a world where we're comparing ourselves to others so much. And I think what's been on my heart this entire time is to level the playing field that we're all equal. We're all equal. I've interviewed extremely wealthy people that didn't know where they're gonna get the next paycheck from, people that have started, people that have lost businesses. And the one thing in common is we all feel alone at times. We all feel lack of worthiness. And what I want to do with this platform is remind people that we're not alone. I get emotional, but it's a great question, but that's my heart. Okay. I don't care if it's one person listens to this. This is why I don't have any, yes, we have sponsors, our own companies, but at the end of the day, it's because I don't want to lose that organically. To me, I remember when I went through something about 15, 16 months ago, I'm just sitting there talking to God, and I had a decision to make. I either allow myself to fall into something where I'm real, let me cry it out, let me pray it out, but I get up and I do something good. And 15, 16 months later, I've done some of the best work the world's ever seen me do. So I didn't give up. You didn't give up. Now I'm working with my daughter and my son-in-law closer than ever on one end, my son and his wife on one end. We have new people on our team, not to mention the beautiful people I get to meet like you. So to me, that passion is to remind us that we all suffer, to talk to a friend, and that we're here. So that's really my objective.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the last 2 one, everybody, a funny story coming off a deep question is how we met. So look, at most of you know, if you don't know, I like playing poker here and there. I'm going to say I'm a C plus B. Let's just be honest, C plus B, on my way to A one day. But there's a little place here not too far away from my Austin place. And I'm only in Austin, 2 weeks a month, give or take, depending. And there's one place I go to, and I played with this guy a couple times, and I like the way his style of playing was, and his sense, and hence his Rico suaveness, and I don't know, just the name hit, and we vibed, we played poker, we had a mixer for our business. He came to the mixer, we met for lunches and dinners, and just built a friendship, and we have a lot in common, and good and bad that we've been through in our lives. So I'm happy that brought us here. Like we said, we met organically. Here we are, year and a half or so later. So I love that. So I just want everybody to know that that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
But the last two questions that I have for you, you are now speaking to your 18-year-old self. Okay? You are now speaking to yourself. What is something, if you can change it, because remember, everything we've done that went wrong led us to become who we are. But if you can give a little wisdom to yourself then that you're going to hold on to now, what would that be?
Wow. Oh, that's a great question, Henry. I think a lot of the mistakes I made in the past is because I didn't have the right people around me. You know, I think that's the one thing that I will say, that surround yourself. Be careful who you surround yourself with.
And that's a beautiful answer to yourself, Juan, because people don't realize, you hear all the quotes, but truly, if you're not careful, you could be the best individual in the world.
Yeah.
But all it takes is one bad move, right? So that's good advice to yourself. It's just be careful who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Because peer pressure is a real thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And sometimes you hear from other people and you decide to, hey, no, you're wrong. This person is great, and they're seeing it from a different perspective, right? So that's why you have business coaches, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you're seeing yourself in the mirror, this is all you see, and you see it one way. But when you have a business coach, there's giving you perspective from a complete different angle.
100%. Look at every athlete, and you love athletic, you said, is you have a coach watching the game while you're in the game.
Correct.
Because there's a different perspective.
Correct.
That's a great answer. And the 11 times flying, man, look at that. I love it. The last question is more of a statement for you to make that you could share, is that what would be something that people could take away from you now, today? Your daughters are listening, people that tune into the show. What is something that you feel is your best takeaway in this season of your life? You already said, which I love, is who do you surround yourself with, and people. So I agree with you. But what's something else that somebody that's trying to get through it, that can, some words of wisdom that you can share with them?
There is no trying to see how I can put this one. Rephrase that question again for me.
In other words, right now, as we are ending this, you shared a lot of things, and I always try to make things applicable to people.
Okay.
So someone listening right now that is going to give you 20 seconds to give your life speech. The one that'll stick is people who you surround. What's another part of wisdom drop of yours that someone's going to go,
Faith.
Okay.
Faith.
Yeah.
Just believing.
Yeah.
Believing that you are capable to what you set yourself to do.
Yeah.
And to know when to quit too, because I think a lot of people look at quitting as a bad thing, and quitting can be a good thing sometimes.
And I think it goes back to your faith, though. See, because when you have faith, you can make better choices in the sense of, okay, I'm not quitting, I'm just adjusting.
Correct.
Right? Because, look, we've all been there in times when a storm needs to clean it out.
Yeah.
But we're too stubborn or don't see it. So I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I love that, Juan. And again, I love when we're running out of time, which means that that's how easy conversations are.
Oh, yeah.
But I do appreciate, Juan, you sharing your story, you coming in vulnerable. But I appreciate the question you asked of me. And that's why, for me, I had a decision to make not too long ago. And I said, no, I want to put it into the show. Any little extra money that I did and have, I put in. The people that have gotten behind me to do it. And even doing this show here on the road, we had to put it together. But I thank you for that.
No, thanks for having me.
I really do.
Yeah,
And,
I'm
I do.
honored to be here and sharing a little bit of my story, and hope to do it again soon.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
more and diving in a little bit deeper.
Well, what I love about it is you're coming in this season is that as we come back and circle back in the future, I know in my heart, you're going to be top of the game again, 1,000%. There's no doubt.
Yep.
And I know in my heart you will never forget what you shared. And that's how I feel. I always say, look, if you can stay inspired through what you've been given, it's not motivation. It's a fire that can never be taken out. So, guys, thank you for joining in on Positive Traction with Coach Henry. Juan, aka Rico Suave. Just so thankful for our stories. Thank you. I hope you get something from it. Till next time, God bless. Remember, be blessed to bless others. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.